Welcome back. Vice President Harris and former President Obama held their first joint campaign event in battleground Georgia last night. Joining us now to discuss is Javier Palomarez, a former Obama campaign advisor and now the founder and CEO of U.S. Hispanic Business Council. Good to have you with us. What's the effect, do you think, of appearing with Obama at this point?
That campaign has been struggling. It's had a lackluster support among African American men. And this rally, which by the way was very large, it was about 25,000 people. I think this rally was squarely aimed at that audience. I have to say that the environment was live. It was electric. People were into the speakers, and it was a star-studded event.
And do you think that it was successful in reaching out to those people? There has been criticism from among that group.
I think she spent a good amount of time attacking Donald Trump. She claimed that she went after repeat offenders and Donald Trump was the next one. She referred to Trump as being too old. She called him a fascist. I would have preferred not to hear that necessarily. I wanted her to immediately get into the issues of, attacking, rising prices. And she did talk about reducing costs on everyday items like housing and drugs and groceries and things of that nature. Not a real plan behind how she would actually execute that. But she did touch on it. She talked about, healthcare, and certainly healthcare is a huge issue. So she touched on all of those kind of economic kitchen table issues. But again, there was a plan for how she would execute and how she would actually get these done. I think that's beginning to catch up to her.
And this seems to be part of, obviously, a kind of campaign strategy pivot from the joyful warrior vibes of the early days, which were not so long ago, of course. But what do you think that transition says about the way that she's seeing, her campaign is seeing the last days of the race?
It's hard for the American people and certainly the American small business community to get really excited and get behind her. And I think it's that of a clear plan is beginning to catch up to her. Last night alone, you had Barack Obama, you had Tyler Perry, you had Spike, you had Samuel L. Jackson, you even had the boss. And certainly, there was excitement in the room, but she was speaking to the converted in that case. The rest of the country and certainly the small business community wants to hear an articulation of how she will get things done, because we know there's going to be a divided House. I remember another woman who also raised a lot of money, who also led in all of the polls, and who also had a ton of celebrity endorsements, including Beyonce. And yet we all remember what happened then. So, as I've said before on your program, I would never count Donald Trump out. This race is tight. And despite the celebrities, despite the hype and the excitement, we're seeing Donald Trump actually catching up, and in some polls already ahead of Vice President Harris. So it's going to be a fight all the way to the finish from what I can see.
It certainly looks like it. So in terms of business owners' perspective, could we drill into that a little more? What details are you looking for in her plans?
All of these campaign promises can only be done through congressional approval. And so what we want to see is, well, exactly how will you work with what we know is going to be a divided Congress to get some of these things done? It's one thing to promise it, on the campaign trail. We've been there before. But it's quite a different thing as the president to actually get these things done. And how will you work with a divided House to bring them together to support the American small business community and the American family?